Fox News has obtained Comey's notes from an October 2016 meeting that he had with Obama's national security team. We can see him questioning whether the goal was to inform the public or stop Russia. And just 2 days later, Obama's intel community released a public statement about Russia and election security. Comey's notes also cite an unnamed official saying, quote, Russians have a view on who should win. But according to documents declassified by the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, Russia did not have a preference. Comey later questions whether any action would be taken after the election because serious options are off the table. But after the election, President Obama ordered an intel assessment concluding that Putin hacked the election to help Trump win.
The Russians were responsible for hacking the DNC, and that as a consequence, it is important for us to review all elements of that and make sure that we are preventing that kind of interference through cyber attacks in the future. And that shouldn't be a source of an argument.
Of course, he doesn't want any argument. He said it from the pulpit himself. But the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, spent years revealing how the Obama administration created a phony narrative about Trump colluding with Russia while exposing the real scandal.
We've long wanted to know, well, what intelligence did you have that actually led to this investigation? So what we found is that, in fact, there was no intelligence. The FBI briefed the highest levels of the Obama administration in the spring of 2016. Shortly after that, you have Mr. Steele that gets going. He's being paid by the Clinton campaign secretly. If anybody's looking for collusion, Christopher Steele talked to Russians, because there you have your collusion.
Joining us for tonight's big close-up is the chairman of Trump's intelligence, the Presidential Intelligence Advisory Board, PIAB, and my former colleague, Devin Nunes. Chairman, so many questions here. One question is, what do you see in terms of President Obama's personal fingertips on the pulse of what happened both before and after the election? And the second part of that is, these new notes that we're now seeing from Comey, what do you glean from that?
So, Jason, this actually goes back to an investigation that you were involved in when you were actually out looking for Hillary's emails. As you recall, she had destroyed those servers. I know when you were chairman, you were out looking for those. And we now know clearly what we believed all along. We had circumstantial evidence, but now we have direct evidence that indeed this was all a cover-up, because they were concerned that those emails, those Hillary Clinton emails, were going to come out. And so, as you'll recall, they concoct this, and now what you're really trying to figure out at this point is just how closely the DNC, the Hillary campaign, the FBI, and the CIA appear to be all coordinating with this all through 2016. And that's, I think, what Director Patel, Director Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, they're all starting to find new information out that is now coming forward that sheds a lot of light on this. And then the question becomes, will anybody pay the price? I would also add something that I think has been lost on people for a while now, and this is, all of this culminates, this goes on and on and on from it, because they go to the Mueller witch hunt. And, you asked about Obama. He clearly knew that this was a Clinton campaign hoax. And then after the Mueller witch hunt flames out, then they go to the Ukraine impeachment hoax with the fake whistleblower. And then at the very end of all of it, they raid Mar-a-Lago. And I think that's really where the Justice Department and the FBI need to look as to why was Mar-a-Lago raided, and how can this possibly go on in this country for, what appears to be a 7 or 8 year saga.
Lisa.
Chairman, Lisa Booth here. Well, first of all, congratulations, because you were right. You put out a memo years ago, and everything that you told us has been, proven to be correct. So congratulations on that. Why do you think they raided Mar-a-Lago? What was the true reason behind it?
Well, it should be easy to find, Lisa. All they got to do is figure out the communications that went on between the Department of Justice and the FBI. I mean, and then we should be able to know. Clearly, they said they were looking for classified documents. We know now that the National Archives, of all places that got corrupted in this whole mess, that they sent over some type of criminal referral. So there had to be documents there that they believe that President Trump had in his possession. And in fact, look, I do believe that it had to do with the report that was buried, that just got released. It was a report that we had done over the course of 4 years. And when I say we, meaning the team on the House Intelligence Committee Republican side, I think that was one of the documents that they were looking for, quite frankly. But regardless, it doesn't matter. That raid on Mar-a-Lago, they had no reason to do that. If it was political actors involved in orchestrating that raid, people need to be held accountable for conspiring to do that to the president and Mrs. Trump.
Chairman Nunes, it's Lydia Hu here. Thanks for your time tonight. I do want to just switch gears quickly here and get your reaction to some reports that there are tensions simmering between Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe. This is coming from NBC, which is claiming that the two are clashing over the release of some documents relating to the Russia hoax and also some security clearances that Gabbard recently revoked. So, Chairman, we're wondering if you have any insight or can add any context to this reported conflict between the intel agencies. Are you able to confirm that?
Well, what I can confirm is that NBC is fake news and has long been fake news. I was actually in Washington, D.C. all week and met with many of those people in my role serving as the president's chair of his intelligence board. And part of our job, really, that the president has tasked us with is to make sure the politicization of intelligence is ended. And, you know, we've been working and listening to Director Gabbard, Director Patel, Director Ratcliffe. Look, they're all united in this, and I think if fake news is trying to gin up and throw rocks into the gears, it's just to try to derail the investigation. But look, you're always going to have the fake news is going to try to continue to bury this Russia hoax, and you know why? Because a lot of people don't talk about this. They were in on it too. I forgot to mention them. They were one of the big players in this, the fake news. So they have every intention to try to derail the ongoing investigations that I believe are ongoing, and the work that's being done to uncover these buried documents that are now being found all throughout government, from the DNI to the CIA to the FBI.
Mr. Chairman, it's Guy Benson. I want to go back to the clip that we played near the top of the segment of former President Obama. This was after the election, 2016. He was there in the White House briefing room talking about how it really couldn't be controversial to just say, look, the Russians hacked the DNC, which is true, and we want to make sure that that never happens again, this sort of espionage, so let's just get together and prevent that in the future. I think the average voter at the time, and even now, might look back and say, oh yeah, that's a fair point. What's lurking beneath that point? Because that's a pretty anodyne point that he made.
Well, look, it's one thing to say you're worried about hacking that, by the way, goes on every single day by every foreign government around the world and very sophisticated hacking groups. But remember, what we've uncovered so far, when I say we, I'm talking about the Trump administration through the work of all the directors, is what? That there was a PDB, Presidential Daily Brief, that was written in early December of 2016 that said that the Russians didn't do anything effectively. And by the way, Guy, that matched the briefing that we had in the House Intelligence Committee around Thanksgiving of 2016. So if that was the intelligence, why wasn't that made public? Why did Obama go to order this new assessment that differed from the intelligence that we had actually had? That, by the way, that information that we were given in 2016 and Obama was about to be given in December of 2016 was accurate. That was accurate information, accurate intelligence that they then buried and basically went into this new scam that ultimately ended up with the Mueller witch hunt that mired this country. The first Trump administration has destroyed the FBI and other intelligence agencies. I think that are going to be it's going to take a long time for them to recover from this. So the bottom line is what I used to call what a lot of people know as the Steele dossiers that the Clinton team and the DNC paid for. If those were the Clinton dossiers, I think they were actually the Obama dossiers. It would be the more accurate description of those. And by the way, getting back to what I said to Jason at the beginning, if the Russians were so good at hacking and they got into the DNC, which maybe they did, we found a little bit of evidence of that. Well, why didn't they find Hillary's emails? And where are those emails at? Jason, I don't know if you ever found them, but I think everybody's still looking, and you just wonder if they were so good at getting this information from the DNC, how did they miss Hillary's emails?
Good point. Devin Nunes, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Look, you got to remember in real time what was happening. Devin Nunes is the chairman, also on the Intelligence Committee. John Ratcliffe, now the CIA director. You had Trey Gowdy, who was chairman. I was a chairman of the Oversight Committee. There were a lot of moving parts here. Kash Patel was a staff person on the. Now he's the director of the FBI, but he was there on the Intel Committee, and we all knew. You could see it all that Adam Schiff was just a flat-out liar. He would just time and time again, he would go before the American people. He'd be pounding his fist. He would go out and do these interviews and say, I've seen the evidence. I've seen all this information firsthand. And, I've got classified clearance. You don't. So believe me, that was all a lie. It was all a facade. But I think what Devin was saying there, what the chairman was saying at the end is pivotal. It changed with President Obama because they knew that presidential daily brief, that one that Obama was going to get in December, was going to be the first one that President Trump was going to get. And somehow, some way, they switched it. And that is the impetus for so many other things that are still playing out now. A lot of people say, hey, why does it matter so many years later? Are you kidding me? We're talking about manipulating things at the highest levels of our government to deceive the American people and impale a newly elected president got mired down for literally 4 years.
One question I have for you, Mr. Chairman, as a second chairman in this segment, is on the question that Lydia asked about these allegations, the NBC report that there are these tensions currently, because you're talking about a lot of the people who were on the other side of this during the Obama and Biden years. Now they're running the show for Trump, and we're getting a lot of these documents, and we're seeing what happened. And it seems like a lot of the people who were cast as crazy during those years are now being vindicated in a lot of ways. So you have a headline from a fairly hostile news organization saying, oh, there's trouble in paradise. Ratcliffe and Tulsi are going at it this way. You know these people as well. What do you make of that?
There is no possible way. I can't even count the number of times we went to dinner with Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe and Trey Gowdy and Devin Nunes. And they are such good friends, and their personal temperament is very measured. If there was any issue, they would just talk it out. I don't believe for a second anything that NBC News is saying. The idea that there's this tension and all this stuff, they would just pick up the phone, probably meet in person, and work this thing out. I don't believe it at all.
But see, to me, I think the most critical question that Nunes actually asked, will anyone pay the price?
Yeah.
And if no one pays the price, what's the point of all this, right? Because we already know that it was a hoax. We already know that they conspired against President Trump, but criminal conspiracy is difficult to prove. And then you also have some challenges with statute of limitations on perjury and obstruction of justice. So will anyone pay the price? So, I mean, I don't know. You're more familiar with this than anyone else at the table. Will anyone pay the price?
I think what the Chairman Nunes was foreshadowing is, look at what's happening when they raided Mar-a-Lago. What were the predicates to do this? Bring guys with guns to raid the president, go in through Melania's dresser, go into Barron's room. I mean, come on. What was the predicate for that? That hasn't passed the statute of limitations. And I think what Congress could and should do is bring Brennan and Clapper and Comey back before Congress, ask them the same questions they asked them before, and ask them to ask them again. Because I think they have to plead the fifth, because I think there are multiple times where they did lie to Congress.
Do we need to call you chairman moving forward?
I would appreciate
I feel like we're friends at this.
Yeah. I will turn my head if you say chairman. So yes.
Well, we're such good friends at this point. I'm like, what do I call you? Sorry, Lydia.
No, I was going to say, Lisa, I think you bring up such a great point about the accountability. Every time we get a development on this very complicated and story with super long legs that go back so many years to your great work, I always ask, is this going to be the point where it turns and we have some accountability? And even though that seems to evade us at this point, I still always come back to this idea that I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. You know, with every little drip, drip, drip of information, it just seems to be that you guys were being vindicated. So I appreciate the early work, and I appreciate all the information that it still continues to unfold.
And you can make the point that the political punishment for these people is that Donald Trump was elected in 2016, and then he was elected again in 2024.
Give them a little more time. It's only been 8 months since President Trump has been back in action, and people like Kash Patel have been put into office.
We're gonna take that to the bank then.
Yes, and Mr. Chairman would be preferred, actually.
No way. No way.
I couldn't do that with a straight face either.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.